Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, April 17th, and I am back for my stitching update. Hope you've all been well and you've been stitching all the things. Over the last 2 weeks, to be honest, I don't really know where they went. It has been so incredibly busy here in my neck of the woods. Both kids, I know in my last video I talked about both kids. Allison's doing online. She's doing her spring term online, and then Ethan just started his distance learning on, he was supposed to start it the week before, but there was a whole lot of kinks that had to be worked out, and so this week was the week that he actually started doing legitimate schoolwork. In the past 2 weeks, our governor has closed down the schools for the rest of the school year, and so it will remain distance learning for the rest of the school year. So it's been very challenging because none of the teachers are all on the same platform, which would be so helpful if they were just all in one place. And instead you might have 1 or 2 teachers here, 1 or 2 teachers over here, and it's been challenging. So not only I'm a college professor, I'm also an 8th grade science teacher, math teacher, reading teacher, writing teacher, later today a health teacher, because Ethan has to do a video where he is doing exercises that his PE teacher has given him. So that's going to be very interesting. And it's just been very busy. I don't really know where the 2 weeks have went. I have very slowly been putting project bags back into my shop. But it's slow going because I get interrupted a lot. And this morning, Allison actually witnessed how much I get interrupted because I was in the middle of trying to help Ethan figure everything out. And my husband comes out with a question, and it was like a line of people with all these questions, and I'm the only one that can answer everything. And so she's like, wow, Mom, you really do get interrupted a lot. And it's very true. It's very, very true. I think as moms in general, we're basically the ringleaders of our own circus. And so it's been very challenging. I told one of my friends that when this quarantine is over, I need a vacation. I really do. So, but you know, we're all doing well. I don't really think in our area the virus has really, like when they took all the states and they did them from worst, hardest hit by the virus all the way down to hardly anybody. I think we're 16th from the bottom. And so, and in fact, they were saying we've already plateaued, whatever that means. And so my hope is that soon they will start opening up everything again, or at least slowly opening it up. So we'll see. We're just hanging in there. We're taking it every day as it comes, and you know, muddling along. In the last 2 weeks, I did get a little bit of happy mail. In my last video, I had showed Madame Cottontail, and I was talking about the blue in her dress was done with General Arts Midnight, and that it was my new favorite color of blue. It really is. It's a beautiful, beautiful blue. But I was having a trouble. I wanted to get a little bit more of it because I wanted to put it in my, some of the summer stuff that I'm going to be stitching, but I couldn't find it anywhere because it was out of stock. And so a lot of you guys though did list shops where you had seen it available, and thank you. Since my last video, I did find out that the Gentle Arts is shut down and they're not dyeing threads right now. And so I think all of the Gentle Arts threads are going to be a little difficult to come by for a while. But Marlene, she sent me this card, and she sent me her Midnight Gast that she no longer needed. So thank you so much, Marlene. I just love your card, by the way. I don't know where everybody is getting these amazing cards, but they're awesome. And I've been saving all of the cards. My hope is to put them like in a scrapbook or something like that. So that way, you know, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I can look through the scrapbook and read through all of your cards, because everybody leaves the best notes inside of them. And I just appreciate it so much. And I also appreciate all of you guys that email me to tell me that you enjoy my videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the messages on Instagram and Facebook, thank you. It totally makes my whole day when I get those notes. And lately, they've just been coming at just the right time. So thank you, thank you. Thank you so, so much. A handful of videos back, I told you guys about my fairy floss mother who sent me all the DMC that I needed for my Once Upon a Fairy Tale. I have had a lot of people ask me why I have not been showing my Once Upon a Fairy Tale. So what happened is, kind of the long and short story, is that I'm having trouble seeing it to stitch. I know that it is my eyes. When I went to the eye doctor the last time, they told me that in my next visit, most likely I would have to get bifocals. And I can definitely tell over like the last 3 or 4 months, I really can tell a difference in my vision. And so when I was stitching on it, I was struggling seeing. And so I have bought a magnifying glass. And in fact, I used my magnifying glass for the very first time on my Anniversaries of the Heart because I had to do a bunch of 1/1 stitching. I'm not very comfortable yet using it, and so I'm trying to get more. Right now it's kind of unnatural to use the magnifying glass because it clips onto my scroll frame or my Q-snap, and so it's like this added thing that I have to kind of get used to using. And so once I get used to using it, I'll be more comfortable to use it, and then I will be able to use it on the Once Upon a Fairy Tale because that's like it's full coverage. And so and I think also I'm going to restart it. I'm going to flip it, restart it in a different corner and then do tent stitch. I think that will be easier for me. So that is my plan. So I still am planning on doing it. I don't want you guys to think that I gave up. I need to figure out I just need to be able to see it. So once I can figure all that out, then I'll be back to stitching it. Anyway, my fairy floss mother, she contacted me and told me that she had something that she wanted to send me. And when it arrived, it was this giant box of fabrics. It was Civil War reproduction fabric. There were some homespun fabrics in there, and I was going to save it for my video, and then I just got to looking through it and I started separating it because I have 2 quilts that I've been wanting to make, and all of the fabric is perfect. So I kind of separated it out, and I meant to have it to show it, and I didn't grab it, but it was a big beautiful box of fabric, and I love it. And inside the box was this book by Gooseberry Patch. I have book number 1, and so this one just has a bunch of quilts inside, just all different sort of spring quilts, and like for instance that one, just bright spring. Have like these 2, so it's just got a lot of great quilt patterns inside of it. And then was also this book. So I've had a lot of fun flipping through these books. This one has a bunch of quilt blocks that you can make and then have a sampler quilt in the end. This is what the quilt looks like. So it's just so fun. I had a wonderful afternoon flipping through both of those books while I drank coffee. And it was so generous of Sandra to send those my way. Thank you so much. And I like when she sends an email, she always includes pictures of what she has been working on, and she has been working on some beautiful things. And she also sent me a picture of a cross stitch. It was all of these quilt blocks that she had made into, or it wasn't quilt, so it was quilt blocks, but they were cross stitched, and it was all these different cross stitched quilt blocks that she had put in a wall hanging, and it's beautiful. And so I love to see that. I just love it all. So thank you so much, Sandra. You are the best. And then I also had, so I had placed an order at the beginning of the month from 123 Stitch, and I finally got my order in the mail a couple of days ago. I saw that this came back into stock. So this is Liberty's Welcome by Plum Street Sampler. And this one I have been hunting for the last couple of months, but every time I manage to put it into my shopping cart, it usually sells out before I can click buy now. So now I have it. I'm not gonna stitch it this year. It's quite the beast. And so I will save this for next year. But I love it. I love anything patriotic, love anything with an American flag. It's just, I love it. It's great, it's wonderful. And I am excited that I finally have it. And then because I couldn't travel alone, I saw that this had come back into stock. So this is Something Sweet by Blackbird Designs. And this is just a great little spring stitch. I think they had it in stock a couple different times, and it was like Liberty's welcome. Every time I would go to put it in my shopping cart, it would sell before I could buy it. So I'm glad to have both of these. I don't plan to stitch them this year, but next year I definitely plan to stitch both of them. In fact, Liberty's welcome, I already have the linen for it. I bought it like a month or two ago. And so I've already begun kitting it up. I am going to do it in DMC. I think that it is, I think NPI is what is the called for. And she does have a DMC conversion for it. And before I had even bought it, you know, back when I was still hunting for it, I had already planned on kitting that with DMC. So my progress the last couple of weeks have primarily been the same. I did add a new start. I felt like I needed something fresh and new, and so I did a new start on Easter Sunday. But Queen of Freedom, let's talk about her. So this has been a long-standing whip that I have been working on for the past, maybe since December. I started her a year ago in February, worked on her for a little while, then put her aside. And I think last year in my Stitch Mania, I might have picked her up again and worked on her for a few days and then put her away, and then picked her back up again in December. And it was either November, December, and I've been exclusively working on her on Saturdays and Sundays ever since. Thank you to everybody who is not getting tired of seeing her. I absolutely love her. Every time it rolls around and it's Saturday or Sunday and I get to work on her, I'm so happy. She's beautiful. I love her so much. But here is my progress. So I'm stitching her on a piece of 32 count Vintage Sahara that I picked up from 123 Stitch. It's just got a very light yellow modeling. And I'm stitching her with DMC and basically all of the called for everything. She's got DMC, she's got Kryonic, and she has Mill Hill beads. I think in my last video, I was somewhere over here. And so since then, I've managed to get a little bit further. Out of the 2 weekends in my rotation, I only worked on her for 3 days. There was a day, I think it was last Saturday, when I thought I could finish my Anniversaries of the Heart, and I thought I could get it done, you know, Saturday night, and it didn't happen. So she unfortunately only got 3 days out of the 4 that she's usually allotted, and so I'm excited to get back to her. I'm going to stitch her tomorrow and on Sunday, and I'm hoping to make quite a bit of progress on her. I think on either Saturday or Sunday, I haven't decided which day. We're supposed to get rain one of the days, and so I think what I'm going to do is I might kind of block off the afternoon and stitch on her for many hours, because I set a goal for myself. I decided that I want to have her finished by Memorial Day, which is May 31st, May 30th, 31st, depending on where it falls. I want to get her completely finished. So stitching, beading, back stitching, all of that. And then I want to have her framed by the 4th of July and on my wall. So that's my goal. It's very doable because I don't really have that much as far as stitching goes. You know, I'm fairly close. I just need a little bit extra time, and I can get her finished. So, and then I just have all of her beading to do. So it's very, very doable. Next up in my rotation is A Wish for You by Blackbird Designs. This is part of the Anniversaries of the Heart series that I started back on January 1st. It is a stitch along that I'm co-hosting with Deborah of Canopied Stitches on Instagram. My goal is to have all of the blocks stitched together and finished by December 31st. I finally finished. So technically this is block 3. However, in the series, if you're stitching them all in one piece, it's actually the 4th block. But I finished mine on Thursday morning. This block I stitched for my in-laws. My mother-in-law celebrated her Irish roots. And so when I saw that this block had shamrocks coming out of the vase, I knew it was perfect for her. So I personalized it with their names, Robert and Annette, and I put the G on the doorway. The vine, I put the initials of their children. So the bottom one here is Brian, my husband, his sister Sheila, Tim, and then Terry's is up there, right here. They were married in 1939. And since I've been doing Ancestry and also Family Search, I was able to see their wedding license. So that was kind of cool. This is a series all together so far. I am stitching it in one piece. And I love it. I'm stitching it with a variety of, it's either the called for floss, the called for DMC, or sometimes I'm substituting based on what I have in my stash or what color I think might go in that area. And so now I just have one more block on the top row to do, and that is Pink Hill Manor. This block here, I will be dedicating it to my grandparents because my grandma, she used to have quite the, like the rose garden. She used to have all, you know, growing up, I can remember playing amongst her flowers. And I know that she used to love to do gardening. And of course now she can't, but I know that she always likes to come over here and see what I've been doing. She likes to kind of look to see what I'm up to, and she'll always say, oh, I remember when I used to, you know, be able to go out and, you know, work in the yard and stuff like that. So I will be dedicating this block to my grandparents. And I haven't pulled any of the threads yet, so I don't know what I have in my stash. The problem is all of the threads. So this series came out in 2010, and so the dye lots are completely different than what they used to be. And so I feel like a lot of the threads really blend in with my linen, and so I'm having to swap stuff out as I'm stitching. I do get people asking what it is that I use on each block. And so for A Wish for You, the only thing that I completely substituted out was the chamomile. I did DMC 3052. For the chives, I used 3051, and these are DMC. And then for the Gentle Arts maple syrup, I used Weeks Dye Works Cocoa. So everything else, I either used what the called for Fancy Floss was, or I used what the called for DMC is. So it just kind of depended. And again, it just completely depends on how it looks against my fabric. I spent a lot of time on this particular block taking out, especially like the windows in the house. I ended up completely taking that out, and I used, I hope it's still on there, I used parchment. So I think, I'm not sure which one is the called for. I should have wrote it down. I did it kind of at the last. I left the windows for the last, and I didn't write it down. So whatever it is that the windows are, I use parchment for. I did have a new start, and this one is Land of the Free by Blackbird Designs. This was in a magazine back in 2011. I believe it was Cross Stitch and Needlework magazine. This particular pattern was sent to me by Dora. She sent me a bunch of patterns a few months back, and this was one of them. And here is my start. So I'm stitching on a piece of 32 count doubloon that she also sent me. And I am using, so the called for threads is Belle Soie. Yeah, Belle Soie. Is it Belle Soul? Belle Soie. But I mean, if I consulted my budget and asked my budget if it was okay if I bought silks for my cross stitching, it would laugh at me. So what I did is I looked at the picture and then I just looked in my stash. Mine is coming out to be more brighter colors, I guess, than the called for. The called for is very muted, and mine is definitely more saturated. I'm using all fancy floss on this one that I have in my stash. I try to pick stuff because you know when you buy fancy floss and then you've used part of it and it's not really enough to kit up with another project because you're afraid you're going to run out. So I save all of those and then I use them in smaller projects like this where I can use up what I have. So this is kind of my palette. I also have my thread keep that I purchased from Socks for Mom. She has some more of these in her shop, the grist mill. I saw them the other day when I went in there because she teased all of us on Instagram. She showed some harvest thread keeps that she had been making, but she's not putting them in her shop yet. She's saving them for Stitch Mania. And I think it's like one of those things where, I don't know if you can buy it, if you'll be able to buy it in her shop or if she'll have it on Instagram, but I'm definitely gonna be on that because I need some harvest ones. So I went ahead and I used my new thread keep. And so this is my color palette that I'm gonna be using. I just changed the house. It's gonna be in this pineapple sherbet because I just needed a kind of like a white. It doesn't really have, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more variegated, but it's not. It's got a little bit of a yellow tint to it, but I've already changed some of these out a couple of times since I've started, just because when I went to go stitch like this border here, the original color that I had picked out, it blended way in and you couldn't see it. So I had to take it out. And then in my rotation, I haven't worked on it this week because it's currently out of my rotation, but that is Brian's stocking. This one, I got a little bit further. My plan, there's like a page break right down here. And once I hit the page break, I'll go back in and do the back stitching on Santa's face and his arm. And so here is where I'm at. So I think it's looking pretty good. So this one's gonna stay out of my rotation for one more week, and then it'll come back into my rotation for 2. So I move stuff around as I go because there's no way that I could work exclusively on the same 3 projects, especially since I seem to only want to work on giant projects. And even the stuff that I have that I've been working on kitting up because I am anxious to begin stitching fall and Halloween, and even those are all humongous. I don't know what it is. I just really seem to be drawn to those large projects that I know are going to take me a while, and so they'll just cycle in and out of my rotation. The only one that's going to stay 100% until it's done is Anniversaries of the Heart because I challenged myself to be finished by December 31st, and I would feel crushed if I didn't make it. I'm determined. I'm a little bit behind because the way that the blocks release, technically I'm only just now starting the April block, but it's in April and I'm starting the April block. So I'm glad that I was able to get the bonus block done so quickly, and I finally got the March block done. And so on Monday, I am going to start stitching on the April block. So far, as long as I can finish the April block by the end of April, I'll be good to go. Or if I can finish just shortly thereafter, I'll be good to go. But that's the only one that's gonna stay 100% on my stitch rotation. And before I switch over to showing you like the quilt I worked on, I wanna talk a little bit about Stitch Mania. I had a lot of people ask if I was going to be participating this year in Stitch Mania because I have not shown, a lot of the floss tubers that are participating have already shown what it is they're going to be working on. And I know last year, especially if you just finished binge watching me, like a lot of you guys have, I had said I'm gonna do 20 new starts in 2020 for Stitch Mania, and I was all gung-ho. And I think it got to be October of last year, and I realized I just can't do it. I kind of went back and forth, you know, and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, it's so much fun, you know, everyone always has a good time. And the last couple of years, I've done a little bit, but not a lot. And then just as the months went on, I realized there's just no way. And so I will be doing Spectator Mania. It's a lot of fun. You just watch everybody else doing Stitch Mania and you cheer them on. So that's what I'm going to be doing this year. And I will continue working on Anniversaries of the Heart. And that's also why I decided not to do Stitch Mania, is because, you know, I'm working on Queen of Freedom and I really do want to get her done. And of course I'm working on Anniversaries. And if I decide to halt all of that to participate in Stitch Mania, I jeopardize finishing it. And I don't want to do that because I really do want to finish both of those this year. I really want Anniversaries to be finished in December 31st because I'm already thinking about what my New Year, New Start's going to be for next year, and I want to be able to do that. So Spectator Mania, that's what I'm going to be doing. If you also are unsure, I would love to have you join me in doing Spectator Mania. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. You just root for everybody and you cheer them on. And so it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. And also you kind of get enabled a little bit. So that's kind of a bonus. You're able to kind of see other things that maybe you didn't know existed. And so you're able to add them to your wish list. And so it is a lot of fun. But yeah, I love seeing what everybody is picking for Stitch Mania. I like the excitement and the enthusiasm. And so I'm going to enjoy seeing what everybody is going to be doing. So Spectator Mania. Well, as far as the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show for this video. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it. I kind of feel like this video is a little bit, you know, I always say that I always feel like I've bombed the, you know, like I feel like I bombed the video, you know, and I always say that a lot. I feel like, oh, it's a hot mess or whatever. This video, it completely caught me off guard because I didn't realize it had been 2 weeks since my last video. Everything's just going by so fast. And so next time in my next video, I'll make sure to have it written in different places so I know it's coming up and it won't be like, oh my gosh, I gotta iron this really fast. I gotta do my video. So yeah, but if you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much. I will be back in 2 weeks. Hopefully the Easter tree behind me will be decorated for, I don't want to necessarily call it summer, but basically it is. It's going to have some of the summery stuff in it. I've been slow to put any of my Easter stuff away. Actually, I've been, so this is terrible. On this wall, so of course my long time gone, she's gonna stay here for a little while, but on the opposite wall there's a little wall hanging, and it's a snowman wall hanging, and it's still hanging on the wall because what's supposed to be there hasn't been bound yet. It's quilted, it just hasn't been bound yet, and so I need to get going. So I've been a little bit slow. Easter is still up in the house. We still got a lot of bunnies. It technically is spring, and maybe it would have felt like Easter had passed if we had actually been able to celebrate Easter. Instead, we just, what did we do for Easter? I think we watched a movie. I think we rented a movie and I made dinner, but it was the weirdest Easter. I mean, usually we have like a family dinner and, you know, there's egg hunts and all of that, and this year it was just very strange. I think next year everyone's gonna do Easter in a big way. So, but yeah, these, I don't know, maybe I don't feel like Easter has passed, but yeah, I need to get on it. I need to change everything out. So the tree out in the other room is gonna stay the same, but this one's gonna get changed out and all my Easter stuff's gonna get put away. So I need to do that in the next couple of weeks. I've just been a little behind. I've also been very behind in watching Flosstube. I managed to catch up with a few hours of, I let YouTube pick them for me. And so I've managed to, I watched Brenda and the cereal starter. I watched them the other day, and I think it was the video from a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And then, who else have I been watching? I watched Jen Stitching Niche. I've watched, oh boy, I can picture all their faces too, but their names are like blank. Anyway, that's how I usually do it. I just let YouTube pick it. And so while I'm sewing, and here's the thing, I get interrupted so much that I'm always hitting pause on everything, and maybe that's why I'm behind. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and if you're not interested in seeing quilting, which is what I'm going to show you next, I will be back in 2 weeks, and I hope you guys continue to stay well and stay positive and stay stitching. And thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it. I did hit 4,500 subscribers in my last video. I am planning on doing a big giveaway when life kind of gets back to normal again, just because I try to avoid going into town as much as possible, and all of that. So when life returns back to normal, I plan on having a large giveaway to, you know, thank everyone who has subscribed. And, you know, I'm just so grateful for all of you guys, and you know, I really do. I appreciate everybody who subscribes and who watches my videos, who comments, who hits the like button, everything. I really do appreciate it. So, but yeah, and this is the part of the video where I'm going to start showing quilts. So if you are not interested, this will be a great stopping off point, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. However, if you're interested in quilts, stay tuned. So let's talk about some quilts. In my last video, I had quite a few quilts that I showed. And in this video, I feel a little bit like a slacker because I spent a lot of time quilting for clients, and I only did one little table topper. I did do some shopping. So I don't know if you're familiar with a website called Thousands of Bolts, but they've been around for quite a while. I mean, I would say at least over 10 years, because I remember hearing about them from the back of a American Patchwork and Quilting magazine, and their slogan is thousands of bolts, one nut. And they have quilt shop quality fabrics. It might just be a little bit older, and every once in a while they have a sale on their fat quarters, and the fat quarters are $1.99. And if you order 12 of them, you get a 13th one free, and they call it a baker's dozen. And so they had that sale going on last weekend, and it's a great time to stock up on fat quarters if you need it, because the fat quarters are only $1.99. And so I was able to get a bunch of Civil War reproduction fabrics, and I love it. It's great if you need to add stuff to your stash, in that you don't necessarily need it in like a particular fabric line. You just want to add stuff to your stash, and at $1.99 for a fat quarter, you can't beat that. And so I got some of this. And when it came, my husband goes, "What are you going to do with all of this?" And I'm like, "Put it in my stash for a Civil War quilt." You know, because a lot of times with Civil War quilts, you need to have a variety of fabrics. It's even though they don't necessarily look like scrappy quilts, they are. And it's just because of the way that the fabrics blend with each other. And so I have a couple of ones that I want to make, and I just basically need to start collecting fabric. It's great. And even in your finishing, if you're not necessarily a quilter, but in your finishing, you just want to find some fabrics, you know, to finish like little pillows and things like that, you can't go wrong with a fat quarter bundle. And I think, I'm trying to remember how much it was with shipping. I think with shipping, it was like $32. So you got the 13 fat quarters plus shipping. But I did make a table topper. It came in this Frivols tin, and I bought it back in the fall. fall, maybe summer. I got it at Sweet Treasures. She had them for $15, and so I saw this one and I grabbed it because it had French General fabric in it. And so this was the pattern. I do not know how to say the name. It is, oh man, yeah, I don't know. That's the name of it. I don't know how to say it. I've heard people say it, but I don't know how to say it, and I don't want to butcher it. But I cut it out last week, and then I finally was able to get it pieced together. It just kind of laid on my cutting table for probably 4 days before I was able to just sit down and get to it. And so here it is. I love it. I don't know yet how I am going to quilt it. I think I'm just going to do maybe a crosshatch on my sewing machine. I feel like it'll get done a little bit faster than if I took it up to the long arm. I love French General fabric, and so I'm in love with it, and I cannot wait to have it done. I think that once it gets quilted, it's actually going to go, so where I'm doing my video right now, we have a coffee table, and it has a lid that it pops up, and so you can eat, and it's going to go here on this table when I'm finished with it. So that is all of the quilting. That it's not a lot. That's all I did. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will have something more to show. I have a mystery quilt that I am supposed to start with my small group. They already started, but I did not get the directions. And so I do have to make the first 4 blocks, and then I think the next block is supposed to release tomorrow, and so hopefully I will have those to show you. I'm going full scrappy on it. I don't know how it's going to turn out because originally she said we were only supposed to choose 3 fabrics, 3 colorways, but I'm going scrappy because I don't have enough of anything to do it right now, so I hope it's going to turn out okay. And then I also want to make, Lori Holt had a quilt along last year. It was like vintage block or vintage quilt along or something like that, and I want to start that one as well. So hopefully I will have those blocks started so I can show you. And I got a lot of plans. I have a lot of plans, but not a lot of time, it seems like. So anyway, that wraps it up for this video. I hope you guys have a good couple of weeks. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and I promise that in my next video I will have it a little bit more together, because this one I feel like I threw it together at the last minute. And I hope that it uploads well, because my last time when I was editing my video, I noticed when I got towards the end that my phone must have been overheating because everything washed out a little bit, and so I have to, keep an eye on the time. And anyway, so I will be back in 2 weeks. If you want to know what I'm up to, you can always follow me on Instagram. I am Pumpkin Hollow Quilts on Instagram. On Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. You're welcome to follow me in both places. I would love it. Also, I do have an Etsy shop where I sell project bags and sometimes grime guards when I can get elastic. And that is Pumpkin Hollow Quilts on Etsy. I will put a link down below to all of those places. And otherwise, I will be back here in 2 weeks. Hope you have a great one. Thank you so much. And if you have just found me, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button. So, well, without further ado, I guess I will go. It's always hard to say hello and goodbye. So I hope you guys have a great couple of weeks, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.